When you reach the moment where you no longer recognize the person in the mirror, it does not mean you are lost. It means something deeper is finally trying to speak. There is a point in every inner shift where the old sense of self becomes too small to hold everything you have lived through, everything you have carried, everything you have outgrown in silence. You feel it as confusion. You feel it as heaviness. You feel it as the strange distance between who you were and who you are becoming. Most people think this feeling means something is wrong, but here is the truth. It means something new is forming inside you. You think you are falling apart, but actually, you are falling out of an outdated version of yourself. You think you are empty, but actually you are clearing space. You think you are behind, but actually you are at the exact threshold where transformation begins. There is a quiet intelligence inside you that does not use loud thoughts or dramatic signs. It works in small signals. It shows up when you suddenly stop wanting what you used to chase. It shows up when familiar comforts no longer comfort you. It shows up when the life you built feels foreign, not because it is bad, but because you are shifting into someone who can no longer fit inside its old shape. This is not failure. This is the beginning of self-renewal. This is the moment where your deeper self starts taking over the story you tried to control for too long. When you don't know who you are anymore, you are closer to truth than ever. The identity you built was shaped by pressure, expectation, survival. The identity emerging now is shaped by clarity. The old you was built to endure. The new you is built to live. And this in-between space, this fog, this uncertainty, is not a punishment. It is the pause before a new alignment. Most people feel ashamed of this phase. They think they should be certain, confident, consistent. But certainty is often just fear wearing a mask. Confidence is often performance. Consistency is often self-protection. What feels like confusion is actually your deeper self turning down the noise of who you were taught to be. You are not supposed to recognize yourself right now. You are supposed to observe what no longer fits. You are supposed to notice what drains you. You are supposed to feel which parts of you are ready to be released. The shift always begins with a quiet undoing. There is nothing dramatic about it. Your thoughts soften, your routines loosen, your desires blur. And in that softening, something inside you begins to stand up. Not loudly, not quickly, but with a calm authority you cannot ignore. If you listen closely, you can feel the difference between collapse and emergence. Collapse feels frantic. Emergence feels empty but steady, like a room waiting for new furniture. Here is what most people misunderstand. Losing your old identity is not a breakdown. It is a breakthrough disguised as disorientation. Your deeper self is not trying to confuse you. It is trying to free you. And the more you allow this inner shift to happen without forcing clarity too soon, the more naturally the next version of you will rise. This is the stage where you stop pretending you are fine. This is where you stop caring what asks too much. This is where you stop performing a character you no longer believe in. You are not lost. You are being rewritten. You are not fading. You are unfolding. You are not breaking. You are becoming real. There comes a moment when your mind stops reaching for the answers it used to rely on. The thoughts that once guided you feel distant. The habits that once defined you feel borrowed. And the identity you spent years constructing feels strangely disconnected from the person who now wakes up inside your body. This is the moment most people fear, because they mistake it for instability. But it is not instability. It is transition. It is the quiet crossing from one psychological landscape to another. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding the version of you built for a different season of your life. Most people think the self is fixed, but the truth is simpler. You become who you need to be in order to survive what you went through. And when the survival phase ends, the old identity loses its purpose. You feel it as restlessness. You feel it as resistance to routines that once worked. You feel it as an inner pull towards something you cannot yet name. This is the first sign that your deeper self has begun to rise. You think you should push harder, but actually you should pause. You think you should know what comes next, but actually you should let the next version of you reveal itself without pressure. You think you are failing because your old patterns no longer function, but actually those patterns are dissolving because they are no longer aligned with who you are becoming. Most people feel this shift and try to run back to the familiar. They chase old dreams, revive old habits, cling to old identities. But the familiar cannot carry you forward. It can only keep you small. When you no longer know who you are, it is because your mind is releasing the definitions that kept you safe but limited. You are stepping into a space where your deeper impulses can finally breathe. In this space, you do not need clarity. You need honesty. Honesty about what drains you. Honesty about what no longer resonates. Honesty about the roles you outgrew quietly. There is no need to force anything. Your deeper self does not need to be built. It needs to be uncovered. It rises naturally when you stop resisting the truth of your own evolution. Most people think evolution feels empowering, but the early stages feel like standing in a hallway after closing one door without seeing the next. That hallway is where your real transformation begins. This is where a simple inner practice can help. Place your attention, just for a moment, on the part of you that observes everything without reacting. Not the thoughts, not the fears, not the expectations, just the awareness that notices them. Stay with that awareness long enough to feel that you are more than the noise inside you. When you rest in that awareness, even briefly, you discover something surprising. The confusion loses its weight. The fears lose their authority. The uncertainty loses its threat. Because the part of you that watches all of this is already steady, already whole, already beyond the identity you are shedding. This shift is not happening to you. It is happening for you. It is the moment where the deeper intelligence within you begins to guide your choices, not through dramatic insight, but through quiet clarity. You start recognizing what feels true and what feels forced. You start sensing what belongs in your future and what must remain in your past. And without realizing it, you begin stepping into a new internal alignment that feels more like returning to yourself than becoming someone else. There is a point in every transformation where you feel suspended between versions of yourself. You are not who you were, but you do not yet know who you are becoming. This suspension can feel uncomfortable, almost like drifting, but it is one of the most meaningful stages of inner growth. The old identity is loosening its grip, and the new identity is gathering strength in silence. Most people want this stage to move quickly, but slowness is part of the process. Your deeper self does not rush. It waits until you are ready to see what has been quietly forming beneath the surface. You think you need answers, but actually you need space. You think you need direction, but actually you need room for your instincts to breathe. You think you need certainty, but actually you need the freedom to not know for a while. Not knowing is not a flaw. It is a doorway. When you stop forcing yourself to be the person you used to be, you create the inner space for the person you are becoming to emerge without resistance. Most people misinterpret this phase because it feels like nothing is happening. But here is what it really means. The deeper layers of your identity are rearranging themselves. The priorities you once held tightly are losing their charge. The relationships that shaped your old self may feel misaligned, not because they are wrong, but because you have grown past the version of you that relied on them. The dreams you once chased may feel dim, not because you failed, but because they belong to a different chapter. This is not loss. This is recalibration. This is the internal shift where your deeper intelligence becomes stronger than your old impulses. You start noticing small changes. The things that once triggered you no longer have the same power. The people who once defined your worth no longer sit at the center of your inner world. The habits that once numbed you begin to fall away naturally. This is how your deeper self takes over. Not with noise, but with clarity. Not with force, but with alignment. The new identity does not enter your life with fireworks. It enters quietly, through moments of unexpected honesty. You realize you no longer want to pretend. You realize you no longer want to collapse into roles that minimize you. You realize you no longer want to carry what was never meant for you in the first place. Here is the truth most people avoid. When you no longer know who you are finally free to choose. Not from pressure, not from expectation, but from inner truth. That truth does not shout. It whispers. It whispers when you feel a sudden pull toward something new. It whispers when a small idea feels warm in your chest. It whispers when you feel a subtle relief at the thought of letting something go. These whispers are not random. They are signals of the identity forming inside you. And once you notice them, you cannot return to the old version of yourself in the same way. Not because you are broken, but because you have outgrown the person who accepted less than what your deeper self knows you deserve. You are not unfinished. You are unfolding. You are not confused. You are being redefined. You are not disappearing. You are preparing to arrive in a new way. There comes a moment when the shift becomes undeniable. You wake up and something feels different, even if you cannot describe it. The thoughts you used to believe without question suddenly feel optional. The emotions that once overwhelmed you now move through you with less resistance. The stories you repeated in your mind lose their authority. This is the stage where your deeper self is no longer whispering. It is guiding, softly but unmistakably. Most people think they need a clear identity before they can move forward. But here is what it really means to grow. You move first and the identity forms around the movement. You choose something honest, and the new self shapes itself around that honesty. You release something heavy, and the new self expands into the space you freed. Identity is not discovered. It is formed, and you are forming yours right now through every moment of truth you allow yourself to feel. You think you need a plan, but actually you need permission to trust your inner signals. You think you need a perfect vision, but actually you need one honest step. You think you need confidence, but actually you need the courage to not collapse back into old versions of you when things feel unfamiliar. This stage is where most people sabotage their evolution. They feel the shift beginning and they panic. They rush back into old routines because at least they were predictable. They cling to outdated identities because at least they were familiar. They choose comfort over clarity, even when comfort has already started to suffocate them. But you are past that point. You would not be feeling this inner shift if you were meant to return to who you were. The distance you feel from your old self is proof that your inner landscape is changing. You do not need to chase this change. You need to allow it. Allow the confusion to exist without demanding immediate answers. Allow the uncertainty to stretch without shrinking yourself to escape it. Allow the new impulses, the new questions, the new instincts to rise without dismissing them, because those instincts are the first language of the identity forming inside you. Here is what most people never realize. Your deeper self does not take over when you feel strong. It takes over when you feel empty. Because emptiness is not a void. It is unoccupied space. And unoccupied space is where new truth can finally land. When you feel like you don't know who you are anymore, it is because you have outgrown the story you were living in. And the new story is waiting for you to stop forcing the old one to make sense. You are not meant to return to who you were. You are meant to rise into who you are becoming. And the rising begins quietly. In the moment you no longer force what drains you. In the moment you stop apologizing for changing. In the moment you let yourself feel the pull toward a future that does not yet have a name. You are not lost. You are being prepared. You are not slipping away. You are stepping inward. You are not ending. You are being rewritten in real time by something inside you that has been waiting for this exact moment to take the lead. There is a quiet turning point where everything inside you begins to align without asking for your permission. You notice it in the way certain thoughts no longer feel true, even though you repeated them for years. You notice it when your inner reactions shift before your mind has time to explain why. You notice it when something steady begins to rise beneath your confusion, as if a deeper layer of you has decided it is time to take over. This is the moment you stop living from who you were taught to be and start living from who you actually are. Not because you planned it, not because you forced it, but because your inner self has reached a level of strength that can no longer stay hidden. You think you are lost because the old you is fading, but actually, you are being guided by a part of you that has always known the way. You think the confusion means you are falling behind, but actually it means the story you outgrew is releasing you. You think you need to fight for answers, but actually the answers are already forming in the silence beneath your thoughts. Most people never allow themselves to reach this point. They cling to old identities because uncertainty feels threatening. They choose familiarity over authenticity. They choose old definitions over inner truth. But you have reached the threshold where the old story can no longer contain you. And that is why everything feels unstable. Not because you are breaking, but because your deeper self is stepping forward for the first time. When this shift happens, the past loses its pull. The future stops intimidating you, and the present moment becomes the only place where anything feels real. You start noticing small sparks of honesty. You admit to yourself what has never made you feel alive. You acknowledge the inner signals you used to ignore. You allow the truth that rises from within to matter more than the expectations around you. And in that honesty, you begin to meet yourself again. Not the version shaped by pressure. Not the version shaped by fear. Not the version shaped by survival. The real one. The one that has been waiting for you beneath every moment of resistance, beneath every chapter that exhausted you, beneath every identity that was never fully yours. Here's what most people misunderstand. Your deeper self does not appear when life becomes perfect. It appears when you are finally willing to stop pretending, when you are finally willing to release the weight you carried out of habit, when you are finally willing to step into the unknown without demanding guarantees. Most people think this shift feels empowering, but truthfully, it feels raw, vulnerable, and strangely quiet. Empowerment comes later. The quiet comes first. And in that quiet, something inside you says, this is who you are now. Not the version you remember. Not the version others expect. Not the version shaped by old stories. The version built from truth. And once you feel that truth, even briefly, you cannot go back to who you were. Not because the past is gone, but because the deeper self has taken the lead. It guides your instincts. It sharpens your boundaries. It softens your fear. It strengthens your decisions. And without realizing it, you begin to live from a place that feels more like alignment than effort. Leave one word in the comments that feels like the person you are becoming. You are closer than you think to meeting the version of you that has been forming in silence. Tune in, recalibrate, shift your frequency,